Well, hello, everybody. So we are obviously going live. We had a normal live scheduled for today, with just how we've been doing lives and doing more of a talk show type of thing. But we decided, since we are just now getting back from a trip, we literally got back from our trip yesterday afternoon. So we decided that instead we would do a trip report for you. So we just wanted to get on here and tell you a little bit about our trip, the ins and outs of what we found true to be Disney during Corona. And kind of give you some things that we learned, so the easy way and the hard way. And go from there. And if you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comments and we will either get to them during this live, or if you have comments, you watch this later on, just leave them in the comments and we'll answer them that way. All right. So just remember to like our videos and subscribe. Be subscribed. We're about to hit a big number. We're about to hit 750. We already bought a bunch of stuff for a giveaway. So yeah, if you're not subscribed, subscribe.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us.
But yeah, we will let you know the ins and outs, and make sure that you are subscribed and have that notification bell hit so that you can see for yourself, because we did vlog our trip.
Yep. All right, so where do we start?
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. Sound of Music says that's a very good place to start. Yeah, sorry, I'm playing things in my hands. So first of all, we thought that we would actually start with, before we actually got to Disney, with flying. If you have not flown since COVID started, flying was actually a dream. I'll be honest with you.
You're blowing out our mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. Flying was actually really good. They don't put anybody in the middle seats.
Yeah.
It was not crowded.
Yeah, going through security was not bad at all.
Yeah, TSA, you don't worry about, they don't pull out your liquid bags. Basically, you pull out your
electronics.
But yeah, your big electronics like a iPad or a computer, and you take off your shoes, you walk through. They don't go through your stuff like normal. So unless you
beep,
then you get patted down.
Which I did.
Corey gets patted down every single time because does have just enough metal in his leg to set it off.
Yeah.
But other than that, flying was a dream. So yeah, if you're scared of flying because of crowds, it was not crowded at all. The planes were not crowded. No. They keep you away from people. So that was not bad at all. Yes, you do have to wear a mask the whole time.
And we flew Southwest.
Yes. Okay. So that would be flying.
Yeah. Flying,
if you use Magical Express is different now. They do not pick up your bags. You do not get the tag. They do not deliver them for you. So if you check a bag, you do have to go down and get it yourself and take it to your room. And same thing on the way back. You know how they usually have, where if your airline is one of the ones that they work with, you can usually go at your hotel and go ahead and check in, and they give you your boarding passes, and they take your bags for you. Yeah, none of that happens.
Yeah, they temporarily
that is all paused. Yeah. So you actually have to take your bags with you to the Magical Express. They drop you off, and then you have to go through check-in like normal. So they're actually picking you up early. I've seen accounts as far as them picking you up 4.5 hours early. For us, it was only 3 hours early, but we had an early flight.
But they had stopped at another hotel before ours. So
yeah, the popcorn bucket behind you is giving you the perfect ears. Yes, he does. But the Magical Express itself was actually really good. They did have an expected wait time there, but ours was like immediate.
Yeah, but yeah, the Magical Express itself, except for having to go through to the bag check and get your own bags, pretty much operated like normal. It's just the bus wasn't as packed. They put your party, and then they skipped the next set of
seats.
Yeah, they skipped the seats.
Rows.
Yeah, they skipped the seats in front of you, and then put another. So they're trying their best. So the buses, I don't know if they're running more frequently or if you're just having longer wait times. We don't know because.
Well, I think so few people are using the Magical Express that even though the buses are not nearly as crowded, we still didn't wait long. But just plan on still having to go through and check yourself in and check your bags in if you're checking a bag.
To sum up the Magical Express, when we checked in like normal, scan your little magic band and all, there was a sign that said expect a 45-minute wait. We were lucky because as soon as we walked up, they was like, "Oh yeah, your bus is here. Go that way." And the driver had a little chart and told us, "Go sit in these seats." So
yeah. And I will say, I don't think it was just our bus because as soon as we walked up, it said expect a 45-minute wait. But the lady checking us in said that it hasn't been taking that long that day for anybody.
So let's get to what they really want to know.
All right. So
we want to
do the hotel first?
Well, yeah, we'll do the hotel. We stayed at Pop Century.
Yes, we did. It wasn't too bad crowded.
For the most part.
The biggest pain.
And
this goes into the parks too, which we'll get to that in a minute. But the biggest pain right now is that you cannot walk into the food court without mobile ordering. Mm-hmm. You have to mobile order and you have to wait outside of the food court. And then once it says your food is ready, then you can hold it up and they will let you through.
Now, and that's not just at the resort. They're doing that at
That's at the parks.
That's pretty much
anywhere you eat.
Yeah, that's pretty much at all the quick service restaurants and even some of the snack booths that you have to mobile order. And then when it says prepared, they let you into the restaurant or whatever. So you can't go find your seats. And then, which the problem with that is it is creating a crowd
outside of the doors.
Yeah.
And then you have people who've never mobile ordered and are sitting there and like causing a ruckus and you're trying to just get through and get there. Also, it's backing up mobile ordering. So normally you can mobile order and immediately it would say preparing your food when you put I'm ready. Now you actually have to pick a window to mobile order. So this all doesn't sound like a big deal, but I'll give you a story of when we realized that this is a big pain. I have acid reflux.
You want me to tell the story? Okay. I'm the one that waited.
You can use your gift cards, but they are more glitchy than a regular card.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a problem using them. Okay. So I have acid reflux. One thing that helps is me drinking milk. So Corey went to get milk one night for me.
I had to mobile order the little small things of milk. 2 of the little like school size containers of milk.
That was it.
It took about 35-40 minutes
for him to get it.
Now, I will put this there. I ordered at about 8 o'clock-ish. That is the time that pretty much all the parks are closed.
So your hotel is really crowded at that point.
Yeah.
So, but like he went on to mobile order it and he had to get in a waiting group that was like 15 minutes from then. And then when he finally was able to get into a group where he could say, my food is ready. I mean, I'm here, prepare my food. It took another 15, 20 minutes for it to prepare it. So in the past, he would have just walked in, went to the little cooler, grabbed the milk and checked out. So you have to do that for everything. Even if you're just getting a drink, even if you're just getting a cookie, even if you're just getting a cupcake, even the things that wouldn't bag of chips. The things that you would normally just be able to go grab. It's not just full meals. It's everything. So plan ahead on things like that.
And if they're still doing the refillable resort mugs, but now you can't just walk up and fill it up. They have drink stations where basically they got it blocked off and a cast member by the little refill things, and you tell them what you want. You just have your mug in your hand. You tell them what you want, and they fill up a paper cup and hand it to you.
Now that actually worked to our benefit.
Yeah,
because as the week went on, Corey started telling them, Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and drink this. Can you go ahead and give me a couple? And they would give him 2 or 3 cups.
It's
so
true.
He would walk back with his hands full. So that did help. And they would let you in if you held up your cup and go straight to the cups. They would let you do that. But that's the only time that they would let you in. So you can still get the mugs.
Yeah, you buy them in the gift shop, which you had to stand in line to get into the gift shop. They
only let so many people in. So they're sitting there with a little...
my mic fingers.
Okay. They're sitting there with a little counter. So sometimes you can get right in and sometimes you have to wait.
It depends on, I was about to say, it depends on time of day. First thing in the morning when people are ordering breakfast or getting something they need for the park that day, it's crowded. At night, I felt between about 7:30 and 9 o'clock when the parks are closing, it's crowded. You went any other time,
it was empty.
It was pretty much empty. And when you even mobile ordered something at that time, it was within a few minutes. So, I mean, if you didn't order first thing in the morning or right as the park's closed, it wasn't that bad. Now, let's get to something that bugs me.
Transportation?
Yeah. Now, okay, true story. It was our first full day. Lauren's got her shiny ears on. We're with some members of her family. We're all happy. It was like, yay, we're at Disney. We walk out the door and our jaws literally dropped. I don't know how many of y'all that are in the chat and watching have stayed at the Pop Century, but the entire area was full for Magic Kingdom, the park we were actually going to that day. Completely full for Magic Kingdom. And they were putting the buses through there. But the only problem is the way they're doing the buses right now, they're only allowing, what would you say, about maybe 20, 30 people?
Maybe 20 people on a bus. The bus driver has to get off the bus, and then he has to say how many people in your party, and then he has a map, and he will tell you what section. They have numbered the different seats on the bus, and they literally have little plexiglass or like not cardboard.
It's like a hard plastic.
Particle board or plastic zip tied to sections of the bus, and they have it sectioned off.
And numbered.
And
they'll be like, y'all in 4, y'all in 3.
Yeah. And you can, everything at Disney right now is groups of 4. So if you have a family of 5 or more,
you're going to be separated.
Plan on being broken up. You cannot be together.
No.
And you cannot just say, oh, we'll sit in a seat that says don't sit here, because the problem is they don't just have it measured like next to you this way. They have it measured across. So like you won't have someone sitting directly across from you. So you cannot sit together if you're more than 4.
Yeah.
Like our family kept getting separated, which isn't a big deal because we were all adults. But if you have kids, be ready to split up.
And okay, as somebody who worked buses at Disney, I'm used to cramming them full till it's standing room only. It's like
no one can stand on.
I can get a few more, and I mean, I'm duct taping people to the side of the bus. I'm getting them in there, but now it's like 20 to 30 people. It's gone. No exceptions. Nobody standing. It's gone. And
as far as the Skyliner, Mike,
we're getting to that in a minute.
All right, but the Skyliner for any of the ones that have the Skyliner, you have to take the Skyliner for they will do scooters and wheelchairs, but it's very limited on how many.
And it takes up more of the room in the bus because
and from what I saw, they pretty much made you sit in them because they didn't want you to take up other areas.
But yeah.
But if you're on a Skyliner hotel, there is no bus. So if you are at any of those hotels, Hollywood and Epcot, you have to take the Skyliner. There is no bus.
Which, so everybody knows, that's Pop Century, Art of Animation, Caribbean Beach, and Riviera. But, and I don't know if they're going to bring buses back for those parks after all this is over with. I didn't drive the buses. I worked with dispatch and everything. But I never actually drove the buses. I did.
Yeah, he was the one who was at the hotel, like, send another bus here or send these people here, do this. He was the one that drove around.
I was like field dispatch kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. I would hate to be a bus driver right now. That would just be miserable.
Or they have the poor person. They literally have a person that stands there with the sign. This is the back of the line.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute in the parks. But and there, we ended up taking a lift a lot of mornings,
especially to Magic.
Well, okay, we'll tell you the secret. We ended up taking a lift. We went to Magic twice. The first day we took a lift to the Contemporary because it wouldn't go straight to the Magic Kingdom. It would drop you off the Ticket Transportation Center. But we took a lift at the Contemporary, ended up eating breakfast at the Contemporary, and then just taking the monorail over.
Yeah.
And
most of the time it wasn't bad. The rest of the day, it was in the morning.
Yeah. And then...
And they were really prepared, though. They were loading like 3 or 4 Magic Kingdom buses at a time. It was just so few that... I mean, it was just so few people on the bus that it just was backed up.
Yeah. And then, where was I?
I don't know.
What was I complaining about, folks? You made me lose my train of thought.
They are not running the minivans. Matter of fact, those
are lifts.
Some of the people that were let go, Mike, was the minivans. As of right now, they're not coming back. They haven't commented on when they're bringing them back. Yeah,
probably after all this is over and they can really open to full capacity.
Because they actually let go the minivan drivers.
Yeah, they were some of the ones in the layoffs. But anyway, and then the second day we went to the Grand Floridian, had breakfast, and then took the monorail over. Because
that was wonderful.
Yeah, because also security at the resort to get on the monorail, a lot easier than at the theme parks. Let me tell you that.
Well, security in general was a lot easier. You can walk through now
with your bag,
and they don't search it unless you go off.
And
what I would recommend is
if you have a metal water bottle, you're going to go off every single time.
Or if you have like a
large
fuel rod or the large ones. Not the fuel rod, but
not
the
little,
ones.
Not the little like lipstick size fuel rods, but we had a member of our party had like a military grade brick size fuel rod that was like, it went off every time too.
Sunglasses cases go off. But anyway, for us, it was a guessing game the first couple of days. Once you learn what goes off,
we were able to adjust our bags.
Put it all like in one spot in your bag or put it in one bag together like a Ziploc.
You can sacrifice one person.
You can literally set it all aside and then you walk through and they leave you
alone.
Or
you just sacrifice one person to the pat down.
Yeah.
But I mean, so yeah. And then let's get to the Skyliner. It was great.
When it's not opening.
Yes. Okay, that's another thing. They are not starting buses or the Skyliner until 30 minutes before the parks, that respective park
30
opens.
to 45 minutes. One day we saw an hour, but if you're one of those people who like to get there a couple hours early.
For frame of reference, before all this, they would start the buses. I'm assuming the Skyliners also, but I know the buses and the monorails 1.5 to 2 hours in advance. So they cut that window in half. And the day we went to Hollywood, we thought we were smart. We were going to get to the Skyliner an hour and a half before Hollywood opened.
The whole world.
Yes. Because there's no buses there, the Skyliner was wrapped all the way pretty much around the resort.
It was around the whole lake.
And the Pop Century Skyliner hub also feeds Art of Animation. So we couldn't see how long that line was.
So we quickly took
another lift.
Because we got to an hour before the park opened and they still were not running the Skyliner yet. And we would have had to get off at Caribbean and then get in Caribbean's line to be able to get to Hollywood. And if you know anything about Hollywood right now, you have to all be there before the park opens.
Which we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. I got an hour rant ready for that.
No, you don't have a rant. We were bugging about that part.
Hey, Megan, thanks for joining us. We're just doing a quick little live stream about our trip report, how it was.
So Lyft is your friend.
Yes, right now.
Lyft is your friend.
Right now, unless you want to stand in line all day. If you're going to Magic or Hollywood, Lyft. That's all I can say.
Yeah. The other two weren't that bad. We walked right out to Animal.
Yeah, we
No
walked.
problem.
We walked right out to Animal
We didn't
and
have
right
a
out
problem
to
getting on
Disney
the
Springs.
Skyliner on
Epcot.
because Epcot opens
later.
later at 11, and most people going to Epcot are more laid back. Hollywood, you have to be there at the beginning, so everyone was in a craze to get there. Okay?
Yeah, Animal Kingdom and Disney Springs, we walked right on those buses.
Yeah, and then Epcot, we walked right on the Skyliner. So
well, it's the same Skyliner. It was just later in the day, though.
Yeah, because Epcot doesn't open until 11, and Hollywood was opening at 10.
Yeah.
And then one day at 9. So there was enough time that it wasn't bad.
Now, all right, so that's our kind of our gripe and our good side.
But they were doing their best to get everybody through.
Disney,
the Skyliner moves quick.
Let me just say
they
this.
Just do one party per Skyliner.
Let me just say this. Yes, I have a few problems with the way things were.
It's not Disney's fault.
Yes, Disney is. I am the biggest Disney apologist, but I will call them out when they're doing something I don't agree with, and I will in a minute. Disney is trying their best to stay in the guidelines that they were given to stay open. So they're doing their best, but it's just crazy.
Okay.
All right, now, which part should we start with?
We'll start with Epcot. Epcot actually wasn't bad at all.
This is when I'm getting on Disney. Knock down the walls. I'm sick of it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm calm.
I will say one thing great about staying at a Skyliner resort is you are dumped off in the World Showcase. So you don't have to deal with all the walls in the front. But I will also say, as someone who has a father who cannot walk for a long time, who is disabled, those walls can be a killer getting around the front, and you're adding a lot of extra steps for people. Just putting that out there. Also, one thing my family kept mentioning, because this is the first time they've been since all of that. If you have not been since they started all that work in the past, Disney usually only tries to do 1 or 2 projects at a time, and they're very well covered and try to make it look as good as possible. They aren't even trying to cover this stuff.
They
can't. They can't.
And I'll say this. We were in Epcot for the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
And according to the little thing on my watch, I did the most walking when I was at Epcot versus the full days, which we'll get to in a second, at all the other parks.
The only one we walked more at was Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
But we walked 10 miles at Epcot, and we were only there for like 3.5 hours.
Yep.
So, but
and part of that was just trying to walk to the front.
One of the benefits of Epcot is that
you can
the rides are spread out enough that even though the lines might go long, they don't affect each other. And we'll get to why that's important in a minute.
Oh, well, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Yeah.
Okay. The only thing that was a negative with Epcot as far as the food and wine goes is there's a bunch of booths that they keep advertising as woohoo, go to this booth, and DFB is showing the food and this and that. And half of them do not open half the time. It's whatever ones they feel like opening that day.
Yeah, when you plan on going on Tuesday to Epcot, and it seems like a lot of the booths don't open but Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and it's not even just the food and wine booths. Some of it's actually quick services. So, for example, the fish and chips stand in UK, even though it's a permanent establishment, is only open on the weekends.
Yep.
And it's very limited hours.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. If you're making your must-do list for Epcot, if you go on the weekdays, a lot of those booths might not be open. And if they are open, then if you go on the weekends, it's a lot more crowded. Epcot's hitting capacity on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So you have to decide, are you willing to maybe not be able to do all the booths and have less crowd? Or do you want to make sure you get all the food, but there be more crowd?
There you go.
Things to decide. One thing that was really rough at Epcot is also that they don't explain the egg roll cart Katrina has been open on and off. So one of the days we went, it wasn't open, and the other day it was. So I think it's just the luck of the draw.
Yeah, and we'll get to that at Magic Kingdom in a minute.
One thing, and this is the first time we noticed this, and it quickly became a problem the whole trip. If you've been on our channel for a while, you know that we are big proponents of go get your free water, ice water, ice water, ice water. A lot of the booths that used to give you free water are closed. So the only places that have free water
are the quick services,
which
you got to have
you have to mobile order in order to get inside of them.
And you can't mobile order just a cup of ice water.
Like, for example, on the World Showcase, I think there was only 2 or 3 locations that you were able to get water that were outside that you could just walk up and get water at.
Yeah.
All the other ones are places that you have to mobile order to get inside. You can't mobile order for free water.
While we were there, it did not go down at any point where we were trying to use it. I'm not saying it didn't go down.
It probably went down some while we were there, but it wasn't down for us to use it.
Yeah. So if you're going to Disney right now during this whole COVID era, make sure you bring your water bottle. And honestly, you're going to constantly be filling it up. Anytime you get ice water, they'll give you as many as you want. You need to ask for 2 or 3 extra cups just to put in your water bottle, because the places to get the free ice water right now is far and few between. And the bottle refill stations, because I know I'm going to have somebody that says I'll just go to the bottle refill stations. A lot of them are closed. They're not working.
Yeah. But a lot of the places that used to have the ice water machines or just gave you water, like a lot of the smaller one, and some of the popcorn stands and the ice cream places are open, but they don't have, but a lot of the ones that are a little bit bigger that you could use to walk up and get water, they're not open. Like we went through 3 countries before we got to a country that we could get water at.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could get one at the something in 5. Like if you're going to America, not the actual restaurant, but the one right next to it outside.
Yeah.
You could get water there. And there was like 2 other countries that you could get water at. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And when it's 90 something degrees and everybody's wearing a mask and you have to go through 3 countries before you can get water. Whew.
Yeah, because I don't know about everybody else, but the mask makes me more thirsty. It gives me dry mouth. So we were chugging the water quite a bit between the mask and how hot it was. It just seems like we couldn't get enough of it this trip. And it was literally sometimes like walking in a desert.
Yeah. So, this is probably the first time, which if you know how cheap and we try to pinch every penny.
No.
This is probably the first time in a while that we've actually broke down and bought bottled water at Disney World.
Yeah.
Because we drank all the water we had and we were nowhere near somewhere to get free water. So one thing I will say, if you do get in that little predicament, if you are an annual pass holder,
you get a discount.
Do not get it from a store. I mean, do not get it from a stand. Get it from a store, because you do get your discount. You get your 30% off right now if you're an annual pass holder.
All right, move on. Let's move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if your mask starts falling, they will say something.
I'll tell a story about that in a minute. That kind of like really, but let's move on to. You want to do Magic Kingdom next, or do you want to skip it and save it for the end?
We can do it next time.
Okay.
All right. So Magic Kingdom. Let's see. The first day wasn't that bad.
No, we got pretty much everything done.
We got everything done the first day. Magic Kingdom on the weekends. Whoo!
Miserable.
Now, I will say one positive is the lines are shorter. Like, even if they look long, which we'll get to in a second, the lines are actually shorter. We have, and you'll see it in our vlogs, but because you have to be 6 foot apart between each party, all right, let's do Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain went out of the line. It went out in front of around by Thunder Mountain, went across the bridge, went over to where the parades usually start, and went all the way down past Country Bears.
Yeah, the line stretched. It said 60-minute wait on the app and everything, and the line stretched all the way to like the trading post.
Like you were almost in Liberty Square with the Splash Mountain line.
And that's when it got kind of confusing because the Thunder Mountain line was the same way.
Thunder Mountain line and the Splash mixed together, and then people were getting mad.
And people were yelling at each other, and the poor little girl or guy
that was holding the sign.
They're trying to keep the peace and everything, but you got such long lines, and you don't have enough people to monitor the lines. You have people cutting in line because you got that person looking at their phones, like, okay, we can
not paying attention,
and you get a gap, and then you just see people walking up and filling up the gap.
And then people get mad that people cut. And then sometimes people were cutting because they thought it was the end of the line. Because they would have this huge gap, like when you got up to a road or a walkway so that people could walk through. So people didn't notice the line behind it.
Yeah.
But when you actually looked at the line, looked at the time, it wasn't a long wait.
No.
And then most of the time, we got on the rides quicker than what was posted. But the biggest thing, especially with, like we said, Thunder and Splash, and then you have all of those Fantasyland ones that are already on top of each other, like
Peter Pan
and Small World, and then you have Haunted Mansion right outside of it. So those three were all melding together, and that little corridor.
And then you also had the line
crowded.
And you also had the line to get into the Morimoto store.
Yeah, because some of the stores would have a line.
Yeah. And that's another thing altogether is they got it went on Main Street, but okay.
So the lines were moving quick. They were doing a good job trying to keep them going. They were doing a good job trying to market. It just is what it is. I know that that's the rule they had to have is the social distancing 6 feet apart. But what the problem is that when you do that, it dumps all the people into the sidewalks. So then as you're just walking around, it felt like the park was at capacity, even though all of the lines were 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and it was actually really short. It was because everyone was out there in line because the line has to be 6 foot apart. So I don't know. There is really no way for them to fix that, honestly. I will say one thing that they could have done is why are they working on It's a Small World's facade right now? Because that just made the line that much further into the road. Because if you haven't seen pictures of it, they have big things up in front of It's a Small World's facade. And, so they just lost like 5-6 foot of that already small sidewalk area. So why they're doing that right now with everything else they have going on, I do not know. Maybe something big, bad happened. I don't know. Because it made that section, like it was stressful to walk through that section.
It was.
It felt like you were there during Christmas break.
Now, I will say this, and we'll talk about this later on because we're going to give you a few tips for this timing. But we went on Saturday and we went on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday
wasn't bad.
Was not bad at all.
Yeah. Do magic if you can at all on the weekday.
Yeah.
Don't do magic on the weekend.
Yeah.
Do animal on the weekend.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Actually, just do animal on the weekend because all of them are crowded on the weekend.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. But on Wednesday.
Tomorrowland wasn't as bad. But I will say that for a minute, we actually thought that Laugh Floor was open because the line for Buzz took up the whole Laugh Floor outside queue. But then it was only 30 minutes. So, yeah.
On Wednesday, we were able to do pretty much everything. And then on Saturday, I think we got like 4 or 5 things done total the whole day.
To be fair, though, we left for a few hours.
We left for about an hour and a half, 2 hours for lunch.
And we purposely did that. We did more shopping on Saturday and we watched the shows on Saturday.
Yeah.
We did it that way on purpose because from what we had seen, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. But One thing that I didn't like, and I understand why they did it because they got to keep up with the number, is on Main Street. They had doors labeled, and this was all over. This wasn't just on Main Street. They had doors labeled exit and entrance only. There was a lot more exits than entrances, so it seemed like you'd have to go all the way down Main Street just to find a door where you could go in and then go shopping. And then, if anybody's ever been to the Emporium on Main Street, it's one long store.
And there was one door that was the entrance on the whole Emporium, that whole side.
And then on
one door.
And then on the other side, it's also like that, one long section, but they got it sectioned off, so you have to go in and out. But then
there was one store we went to go into, and you had to go to the store next door to get in it.
Yeah.
But they're just keeping, and some places weren't. Like some stores had an entrance and an exit only, but they weren't sitting there counting. So they were there. I don't know if they were just like, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Because you would go in some stores and it felt more crowded and they weren't. And then you'd go in some and they had the little lines, just like you were on a ride, out into the sidewalk where you waited in line to go in the store. So why some were more picky about it than others, I don't know if it was just the cast member.
I would say it's probably
it's
probably the cast member and the management of that particular store.
Yeah, I think some of them just kind of gave up and was like, if it gets too crowded, we'll start. I don't know.
Yeah, and then it got kind of confusing inside the Emporium because you would get in one line and then they would tell you which checkout to go to instead of having each checkout with their own line. I don't know, because I made a mistake one time and then I got yelled at. No, the line's over there.
Even though, all right, you have the lines over here for checkout, over here, and then we went to a line over here, and apparently the line over here was the line for over here. But I don't know why. Don't ask me why.
But
I think it's because those aren't normally checkouts used.
Now, I will say this. One thing I did not like at Magic Kingdom is a lot of the little stands were closed.
Which we kind of talked about that when we talked about water. Yeah. It wasn't just Epcot. It was everywhere. Mm-hmm. It was really hard to come by water everywhere.
Yes, not just
And
Epcot.
A lot of the food stands are closed. And I knew certain restaurants were closed. Like I knew Casey's was closed.
I wanted a hot dog so bad. I talked about it on the way over. I was like, you know what?
And then I told him Casey's is closed. So we knew Casey's. If
Harbor
you didn't
House.
know, Harbor House, Casey's, the ice cream shop,
Cheshire
Cat, the place that serves the tater tots was open one day and closed one day. There was a lot of places that were open one day and then closed another day. Mm-hmm. But all of the stands along the way that just have like pretzels and popcorn and water and sodas, a lot of them are closed.
Yeah.
So you take for granted all that stuff until it's not there.
Yeah, yes. I wanted a hot dog. I don't know about the corn dog nuggets. I just wanted their hot dog because I love their hot dogs. No characters.
You can't go up and meet them.
Yeah.
But they are doing the little, what are they called? Cavalcade?
Well, okay. They're not doing the parade or the fireworks. Everybody knows that. Instead of the parades, they're doing little cavalcades, which is basically one cart from the parade.
It's like they section the parade off and do it in sections. Which the first day I was like, oh, okay, I get this. And then at Epcot, I was like, oh, okay, I get this. But then Saturday at Magic, people waited on Main Street all day to watch those things. They literally had the taped off sections like they do for the parades. So I don't understand how that is helping with crowds more than a parade.
Yeah.
If you're going to literally tape it off for people to stand there. Mm-hmm. And there was some people, like when we went down Magic Kingdom, like when it was the Jack Skeleton one.
Oh, it was packed.
It felt like you were
a regular parade.
Yeah, it felt like Festival of Fantasy.
As soon as people heard the music.
Except you couldn't dip into
the Emporium.
The Emporium because the entrance is not on the end.
And I will say this, like they had characters at they had Winnie the Pooh and some of his friends on the porch of the Crystal Palace.
And then later on that day, they had Peter Pan there.
And they were you couldn't go up and see them because it was all marked off. They would
talk to the ones that are face characters would talk to you.
Yeah.
The fur characters
and you can
would
make
at least make gestures
Yeah.
and do things.
And you can make a selfie with them in the background and everything. But that was as close as they were.
Yeah. So it was neat to see them around. I liked the little mini parades.
I missed the fireworks though.
On Saturday, I didn't understand the way they were doing it on Saturday was literally what they do. Like they pulled out the white masking tape and sectioned off like they do for a parade. So I was like, what's the
And
point?
they just do them randomly throughout the day. So
yeah.
But people literally were sitting there all day for certain ones. So
but like we said, the lines are lower. So and all of the cast members that we worked with,
they were trying their best.
They are trying. I know Corey the whole time was walking around. I'm so glad I'm not working here right now.
Yeah.
You can tell they were stressed.
Yeah. So let's move on to Animal Kingdom. We'll save Hollywood for last because I got something to say about that.
Okay. Animal Kingdom was the one
great
that we noticed all of the stuff the least on.
I do
all of the rides are spread out enough that even though the lines go long, it wasn't that big of a deal. And their cavalcades or whatever are actually pontoon boats that go around the water, and it's such a big area that people weren't really gathering to watch it. So that was perfect. It felt like more of the food places were open at Animal too.
It did. Some of the booths that just sold like ice cream, or I'm a big fan of the candied pecans. That booth was closed, but I found them somewhere else in the park by just happenstance. Yeah. I was going to get something else.
Overall, just more of those stands were open.
Yes, more overall was open. But I will say this. Animal Kingdom's the only one I got told off about my mask about.
Okay.
We were stopped. Because the rule is you can have your mask down if you're stationary
and
drinking,
actively eating or drinking.
Okay.
The wording.
So I got my little bottle out, had my mask down. I took a swaller. I handed it to Laura, and at this same time, I was fixing our camera because we were having some technical issues. So while she was drinking, I had a memory card stuck in my mouth. I don't know why, but I did. And I was fiddling with my camera while she was drinking. And a cast member was like, "Sir, you need to put your mask up." And I'm like, "We're stationary. You see, she's drinking water."
They were very polite about it,
polite,
and they might not have saw that we were passing the water bottle back and forth.
Yeah, but that was the only time I got told to make sure you pull your mask up and everything.
But I saw them tell several people. Yeah. But in her defense, she was nice about it, and I don't know if she saw that.
And I will warn people now. I never thought that this would be an issue. Never even crossed my mind. If you have to wear your mask on the rides. There's no way of getting around it. They tell people to do that. Some rides might make you more motion sick wearing a mask than not wearing a mask.
Yeah. Most of them, we didn't have that problem. The one he noticed was on Everest. Corey has ridden that over and over and over again, nighttime, daytime, multiple times in a row and not had a problem. And we were barely, after the first big...
I started getting sick when it went backwards.
Yeah. But you were actually sick a little bit. Like you looked at me and said, "Am I getting motion sickness?" And then by the end of the ride, like you were.
I was this close, folks. Yeah, this close.
And he never gets sick, so I'm thinking that that he wasn't getting a breeze on his face.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So if you already are a little prone to motion sickness, you might want to be aware that might exacerbate the
issue.
Yeah, the issue. You might want to take your Dramamine a little more frequently or something, because I like she said, I have done
Everest
100 times, 200 times in my life. We've went there and rode it like 5-6 times in a row. Never had an issue. One time with a mask, can't even get through the ride. I had to sit down out of sight and drink water. And we have this little fan, which Laura's gonna talk about in a minute. And I had to sit there having it blowing on me, drinking water for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah, I literally held this up to him. Which this is actually, so Corey showed the water bottle earlier. This was a lifesaver. Okay, so you can't take your mask off, but we would tilt it down or tilt it up. Just the mask.
Yeah.
So hopefully this isn't going to be an issue if you're coming now and through December, because I saw that it's cooling off, but it spiked and it was in the 90s when we were there. And
but
90s in a mask is like 100.
But once again, that the motion sickness thing, that's person to person, how sensitive you are. Because honestly, the only ride that's ever made me motion sick before that was Star Tours.
But you're saying you always had the same
argument no wind blowing.
That there was no air like circulating.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it was.
Yeah. But that was like
Animal Kingdom was probably the one that felt the most normal.
Yes.
That you didn't notice all of the little changes quite as much.
And Mike, just so you know, we do have the fan, but I can't sit on Everest doing this. So
but yeah, the only downside to Animal is that they didn't have the two main shows, which are two of my favorites to watch. We love those shows, but they don't have Nemo for life. They don't have most of the shows going, so that's not anything.
Well, Hollywood,
and we knew.
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute.
We knew ahead of time that the shows weren't going.
Yeah, it was a little sad, and they didn't. Well, they didn't have Nemo. They didn't have Festival of Lion King, and if you like the bird show, they didn't have it going either.
Yeah, which I heard the bird show was going.
It wasn't going,
but it did not go while we were there.
Yeah, it might be a weekend only, but it was closed while we were there.
Yeah, so
which we were there on a Friday, so I don't know.
So. Yeah, that was the only downside. But other than that, that was the most normal feeling park. Like I didn't feel, I didn't understand. I didn't understand. I didn't feel weird in Animal Kingdom like I did the others.
Yeah, Animal Kingdom was good. And the lines were super short at Animal. I think we waited like 25 minutes for Everest. That was about the longest wait. Dinosaur was like only a 10-minute wait. The safari, by the time you walked through the line, that was your wait time. Tough to be a Bug. I think it got up to 30 minutes, but that was about it.
That was after a cleaning too. Yeah. It went back down. The shows that normally are dead tend to get lined up quicker, because if you saw how few people they actually put in the theater, because not only can you not have people next to you this way, you can't have people in front of you but 2 or 3 rows up this way. So it's not even half full. I think they probably filled the shows up about a quarter of the way.
Yeah, and that's probably why more shows aren't going, because it's not, especially the ones that actually have live people like Nemo and all them. It's not cost effective.
Because I don't even think they have a quarter of the people, like quarter of the show full.
Yeah, but Animal Kingdom is definitely a lot of fun. It's definitely one you could probably still do on the weekend and not be sitting in line all day.
If you're going to Disney on a Saturday or Sunday during your trip, I would plan Animal Kingdom those days.
Yeah, Animal Kingdom.
Because we went on a Friday, and then we looked at the times on Saturday and Sunday and was like, ooh, Animal Kingdom is still low.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we kept an eye on the times for y'all the entire time we were there.
Yeah.
Now, can I start my rant?
Don't rant.
I'm not going to rant. I'm just going to say there's something.
They are sanitizing the rides every 2 hours.
Yes. And they stop it.
So it's actually not as often as you think.
What they do is they stop it and they sanitize them as they come through. Yeah. So they basically do 1 to 2 cycles of all the carts or buggies or whatever vehicle it is for that ride, and they spray it down with sanitizer as they pass through.
Yeah, so most of them took less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's whatever time it is for 1 cycle or 2 cycles.
Yeah.
And
I will say they have hand sanitizer everywhere.
And I will give them credit on this. I think I only encountered 1 that was empty the whole trip.
Yeah.
They were constantly
one thing that perplexed me as far as that kind of stuff goes is that they had the water fountains open, which I guess working at a school, that was like the first thing that schools were told to close down because people's mouths or when you're drinking water, some of it can land on the machine.
I get it, and I don't get it at the same time.
I think they left them open because they closed all the places to get water.
They had to because they closed a lot of the stands that have water. They closed the bottle refill stations. There's not a ton of them right now.
Some of them are open.
They're adding more and more. But
I think there was some just broke down.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying they had to have some way for people to get water on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So moving on to Hollywood.
Yeah. Hollywood, I think that whatever their capacity is too high. And we went on a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's too high because it felt crowded everywhere you went.
Mm-hmm.
And the lines all spiked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think
Runaway
Rocket and Tower maybe got down to 40, 45 minutes each, but they stayed up there. Runaway Railway got all the way up to
300 minutes at one point.
Yeah, but then at one point it was down to like 60 minutes, but that's the lowest it got. Slinky never got below 65.
Yeah, we went pretty early in the morning.
Smuggler's Run never got below like 45, 50. So yeah. The only things that would sometimes go low were, let's see.
Tower got pretty low.
No, Tower was at 45.
Oh, okay. Well, I consider that low when everything else is 60 plus.
Yeah. The Alien Spinning Ride.
It got down to like 20.
And then the Toy Story Mania.
It got low.
Those two got lower, but those are because they don't have to social distance those because it's only 2 people per cart. The rides that are Omni Mover or already only a few people did not back up like the rides. Pirates and Jungle Cruise and Small World always stayed lined up because on the boat, if everybody is in different parties, they can put each party gets 1 row and then there has to be 3 rows between each party. So they're barely getting anybody through. So that's why those 2 rides didn't get did stay lower.
This is what I'm going to say now. This is nothing to do with the COVID system. This is just Disney. I will blame Disney for this one. The boarding system for Rise of the Resistance is broken. We were there an hour before the park. We had somebody in our party with the world clock online that is like to the second or 100th of a second accurate.
Yeah.
We had like 4 different people all doing it at different times to see which one we could actually get it. They were out of boarding passes in 2 seconds.
Yeah. And then it was the same thing. It was within 2 seconds at 2:00.
Yeah, they broke it up into 2 seconds.
Spoiler alert, we were able to get on with the second group, but we
were the last group.
No, we weren't the last group.
Next to last.
We were boarding group 112.
And they got up to like 118.
They got up to 118, 119, which I will say it's a miracle that we got on because every other day we were there, they didn't even get up to mid 80s. Corey keeps taking things out of my hands I'm playing with. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So
that's all. That's Disney. Disney needs to I don't know.
I don't know how they can revamp it. I don't know, especially with everything going on right now. I don't know if they can. But I will say why it's so bad right now is because you have to do these you have to reserve a park and then you have to stay at that park all day. So in the past, when they first started this boarding system thing, like people would do Hollywood early in the trip. And then if you couldn't get it, you can go again a couple mornings. And then if you get it, stay there. If you don't, go to another park. That's not an option right now. So if you have a Hollywood day and you don't get it, you don't have another chance.
No, you don't.
That's it.
Unless you're going for a long period, you got it reserved for another day.
And it was pitiful. Like we rode it. And we came out and there were so many people sitting there waiting, praying by some miracle it would get to their boarding group before the park was closed. Yeah. And this is at like 15 minutes before the park's closed. People sitting there, little kids crying because they had a boarding group and they stayed in that park until park closing because they had a boarding group. and their boarding group wasn't called.
Yeah.
And I get that that's the system right now, but the system was rough before.
Yeah.
Like when we went in March at the first week of March, but when you add in the whole not being able to park hop and not being able to like move around your trip to go another day to Hollywood, it makes it that much more work. Like it makes it bad.
I don't know if fast passes would help. They're in a lose-lose situation for Rise of the Resistance, I'll be honest. If they do fast passes, they're going to go like that. If they do this boarding pass system, it's just not working because you got, like she was saying, you got people getting, like, they got up to, I think, 118, 119 that day, and that was the highest any day, because we kept checking. The highest, most days they got up into the 70s or 80s, and you have people that would have boarding group 130.
Well, and a lot of that goes to what I said at the beginning of the Hollywood thing. I agree, Battle Hard and Grunt, that it's going to have a higher demand for people wanting to go to Hollywood, but they need to lower the number of people they let into Hollywood right now, because Hollywood cannot support the amount of people. When you take all those shows out of Hollywood and you take out all of the entertainment, like the street shows and things like that, you have half the restaurants closed. Hollywood can't support it. So a lot of the other parks were able to support the capacity, and Hollywood could not support their capacity.
No.
Because the fact that all but 2 rides were above an hour all day and you're supposed to be at 30% capacity. No, you weren't. That is not 30% of that park's capacity. And if they truly lowered the capacity, then you would have more likelihood of getting a boarding pass as well. But Hollywood was the one. And the other parks, I did think that they knew what they were doing, but I just question when they're looking at Hollywood's capacity.
They need to drop.
What is Hollywood's capacity on a normal day then? Because
I don't want to be in it.
I don't want to be there if it's anywhere near capacity.
And
I will say those shows do take in a lot of people.
Well, at Hollywood, what was closed? Indiana Jones was closed.
Indiana Jones. Then you had
was anything else closed at Hollywood?
The Beauty and the Beast show.
Okay. Ariel.
The Ariel show.
But I've heard it's closed for good.
I've heard rumors, but then they need to put something else there.
They do.
And then the Disney Junior, one of their shows.
What about the Cars
closed.
thing? Was it closed?
No, the Cars thing was up over an hour most of the day. And then the Frozen just opened back up, but we said it can only hold a quarter. So on a normal day, those shows hold huge capacities of people at a time.
They do.
Where
they're not.
Without them, that park, it just either needs more there.
When you have an hour's worth of people, of wait time of people at Indiana Jones, not at Indiana Jones, they're in the park in other lines. And between that and then the boarding system, I don't know how to do it any better. I really don't. I don't make that much money. To somebody that does make a lot of money that makes that decision could probably come up with a better solution.
But the only part that made us question, like, okay, are they really is capacity lowered enough, was Hollywood. Because Magic felt crowded, but when you looked at the wait times, everything, like we said, was 30 minutes, 20 minutes. It just felt crowded because of that 6 foot apart. Hollywood was crowded.
Yes.
Hollywood was crowded 6 feet apart or not. And I get that is the highest demand park right now, but with the whole reservation system, that shouldn't matter because it should only be allowing certain numbers of people in. So to me, if all of your rides are staying up above an hour, and
you need to drop a couple hundred people.
A couple of your rides are getting up to like 2 hours, like he said.
You need to drop a couple hundred people out of that park.
Yeah. So I don't know The rest of the parks, I felt like they were doing a really good job handling it.
Even
Magic Kingdom is what it is. I mean, they can't sit here and move the rides apart further. They're built. Like, they can't do that.
Okay.
The only thing in Magic that I was like, why did they do that? Was the is a Small World.
At Magic Kingdom, you have enough people, you have enough attractions that are open to diversify the crowd. Because, yes, Splash and Thunder were high weights, but you had like Carousel Progress was walk on all day. Country Bear was walk on all day. You had a lot of other rides that never got above like 30 minutes. You only had those like the mountains that everybody wants to go on. And then like
Mine Train.
Yeah. And for some reason, Small World had a
it's the boat thing.
It's
Pirates never got below 45. Jungle Cruise never got below 45.
It's probably got a lot to do with the boat.
Small World was up at 30 minutes.
Yeah, it probably has.
It's the boats. It's the way they had to socially distance on the boats. They just.
But even like Dumbo and
Dumbo was like 10 minutes.
Yeah, Dumbo was not that lined up, and that's usually a longer line. The Magic Carpet was walk on pretty much all day. The Carousel, the Teacup. There were rides there that were walk on or less than 20 minutes all day.
So yeah, most of the lines were low. The only place that the lines weren't low,
Hollywood Studios.
And Hollywood. And we kept waiting because we were there all day because we did not ride Rise until after 6 o'clock. So it's not like it was just at one time.
And we didn't go on the weekend.
All day.
And we didn't go on the weekend. We went on a Thursday.
Yeah, we went on a Thursday so that we were not there on the weekend.
I couldn't imagine it on the weekend. You ain't doing nothing because you're going to wait in line for one ride.
And like the only thing that was really lined up at Epcot was Frozen. And that was still only like 45 minutes. We just didn't want to wait it. So the lines weren't bad. They were moving them fast. The only part that we felt like this is crowded, like this is miserable, was Hollywood. And also Hollywood feeling this is miserable. They got no shade. But we already knew that. Hollywood has no shade. So we also felt the whole mask thing a lot more at Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they had no water open. No water.
Yeah, it was hard to find water at Hollywood, especially. We went to lunch at the what's the place called? Backlot Express. We had lunch there. We chugged as much water as we could, and then I filled up my bottle with ice and water, and yeah. So,
but I mean, we enjoyed our trip.
Well, we
just wanted to get on here and kind of tell y'all about some of the things, because when you're watching all of the videos, like, not anything against other people's videos, but like most of the time they're focusing on what's the best mask you can wear, or where can you get this snack, or what's open now, what's not open now.
For people who have to travel and do it as a vacation.
Yeah, the stuff that we were surprised at was not stuff that people are discussing. So like we said, the biggest things for us, the mobile ordering and not being able to go in was backing up things. It was hard to sit with your group. Like when you're at Pecos, those tables, they're bolted down. 4 people can sit at them and they're itty bitty. You might get a 5th person, but that's it. Well, guess what? Every single table around you is not allowed to sit at. So your party is going to have to be on the other side of the room if you're more than 4 people.
And my Disney Springs was very crowded.
Woo, Disney Springs.
Oh, we didn't talk about it yet.
Disney Springs.
Crowded.
Very, very, very crowded, as in 45 minutes to get in World of Disney crowded.
We went there. Okay, we went to Disney Springs on a Friday night.
Bad idea.
Yes, but it was raining, and you would think that would thin out the crowd.
Nope. Because Disney Springs is the only place that you can go. All the parks close at like 7, 8.
Yeah.
So everyone goes to Disney Springs every night.
Yep.
My parents went to Disney Springs on a Tuesday night.
And they warned us how crowded it was.
They talked about how crowded it was. They tried to get into like 2 stores and had to wait in a line. They had to wait in a long line for food. And then, they just left.
Yeah.
So Disney Springs is crazy. Restaurants, it's hard to get reservations because they're almost encouraging people to do the walk up.
Yep.
So, but restaurants weren't bad. It might be hard to get like the restaurants you want, because just like the other quick services, they are probably only seating people in like a quarter of the restaurants.
Yeah.
Because They want your table 6 foot from every other table all around you. So it's not half full. A lot of them are like a quarter full.
Yeah. But yeah, Disney Springs is crowded. I got a feeling as long as the theme parks have these diminished hours, it's going to be crowded there at night. So you're going to have to give up.
Plus all your annual pass holders that are having a hard time get to certain parks. And they got their 30% off right now. And they can't get in the park that they want to get to.
So they're going to Disney Springs.
They're going to Disney Springs.
So yeah, you got to make a choice. You might end up having to like decide, don't maybe go a day without going to a park and go to Disney Springs that day.
Yeah.
So let's give them a few. Let's wrap this up. Let's give them like 2 or 3 tips each for doing this. Because I just want to say one more thing though. Yes, we've had a few complaints. We had a great time.
Oh, we had a wonderful time. I would just say, if you don't go but every few years, wait and see. Wait a few months and see if it gets a little bit better. I would put it off a little bit.
If you're diehard, watch this
and make your decisions from it. We loved it, but we've been 3 times this year.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're going.
It was still great. We still got to do pretty much everything we wanted to.
But if this was like my only chance to be at Disney for the next couple of years, I would be disappointed. Yeah. I will say that. Yeah. I would be disappointed.
But once again, the trip was still great though. And you'll see it in our vlogs. We had a great time. We got to do pretty much everything we wanted to do, except for a few minor exceptions. But let's give them a couple tips. You want to go first? Like
we said already, water bottle and water. Yeah. Plan on providing your own. If you do have to get water from Disney, each time you go to a restaurant, even if it is sit down, even if it's quick service, even if you ordered a drink, ask for lots of ice water to go with it.
Every person in your party probably needs to take a water bottle.
Yeah, we were getting like, we ordered 1 meal and 5 waters.
True story.
5 cups of water. So water.
You can also
bottle, big thing.
Also, as far as the water goes, you can get water delivered to your resort via Amazon now. And it's not Uber Eats, but there's something like that will go to shops for you. And
yeah, use the ones to get groceries delivered and deliver water.
Yeah, deliver you a case or 2 of water.
But water is a big one. Another thing would be think ahead, mobile order. Like,
well, you got to.
But don't walk up and mobile order right then.
Yeah.
Like, you can mobile order a little bit ahead of time and go ahead. And as soon as you get close enough to say that you're there, say you're there. Because if you try to walk up and order, it's going to take a 15-20 minutes. If you don't think about it and try to walk up and mobile order, it's not like it is before.
Yeah, it's going to take you 15-20 minutes to get your food.
So think ahead.
Extra mask. You're going to get hot if it stays in the 90s, 80s, and probably even some people in the high 70s. You're going to be sweating. Your mask is going to be disgusting. So maybe after you have lunch, you want to switch to a fresh mask.
Yeah, we went through the mask. I thought I was bringing way too many, and I only had a couple that were clean by the end. And I bought some.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a definite.
So I would have used them all if I didn't buy any.
So yeah, as long as you're required to wear masks, don't just plan on 1 per day. Plan on 2 to 3 a day. Depends on how much you normally sweat.
And I would recommend doing like my parents, like a lot. We actually, my family, we walked around in the mask and made sure that we were used to them and tried different ones. And yeah, be ready and have some experience wearing them all day. If you're not in a job right now where you're wearing them all day, start doing some things and wearing them to get yourself acclimated to them.
When you're running on the treadmill to get your cardio going for Disney, put that mask on. Because that's the way it is. I don't know if I could
run in it, but walk in it.
Yeah, well, at a brisk pace, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I cannot stress that one enough. Any others?
Don't bank your whole trip on rice because it will stress you out.
It will give you nightmares.
Literally. So
yeah.
But like I said, we had a wonderful time. We really did. We really did.
Take advantage of the short waits on some lines.
Yeah. Don't freak out when you see the length of the line because that's going to be the 6 foot thing. Look at the time posted because not on a single ride did we wait longer than the time posted.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I think on all but one, we waited well
Less.
below the time posted. So don't walk up and look at it and go, oh my goodness, we ain't riding this. Because there was a couple that as we walked up, I was like, no way. And then I looked at the time and I was like, oh.
But I noticed that throughout the days, lines would fluctuate on rides and stuff. So maybe go do, if there one ride is really lined up, maybe take advantage and do some of the rides that aren't so lined up, and then come back to that later. It might be a little bit a shorter line.
And don't blame Disney. It is what it is, but it's not going to quite be as magical. Just prepare yourself, be ready for it. Some of the things that they had to do, and I know why they did them the way they did them, because they're hoping it's not permanent. But a lot of the things that they put in place are not permanent. So I never thought that I would walk around Disney and see as many things just zip tied together as I did. But a lot of the things they put up in lines, a lot of things they put on the buses, they're all held on with zip ties. On Soarin', to split people up, they used a baby carrier seat.
That was pretty good. That was some MacGyver stuff.
And zip tied down a little divider and literally buckled in a child's booster seat and then zip tied the plexiglass to the booster seat to get it to separate. Okay. So those things to me make Disney look a little bit like not as magical. Okay. And I understand why they did it the way they did.
But it's them showing, hey, this ain't going to be permanent.
Yes.
They want to be able to rip that stuff out overnight.
We had someone that was new with us and kind of walking around and seeing that stuff. I'm kind of like, I don't know how many times I'm like, Disney isn't usually this way.
Yeah.
Disney isn't usually this way. Because like things were zip tied. We saw where they literally took a tarp that had like holes in it and put it over things in Winnie the Pooh and then zip tied it and then stapled it together. Like stapled the tarp together.
On the little kids play area stuff.
So I get that they just had to do what they could, but it does lose its magic with all this stuff covered up and all of these plexiglass things and all of these cardboard things up. And every 10 minutes, them making messages on the thing about wearing masks. So keep that in mind, because
it is what it is right now, folks.
Go to have a fun time, but don't go like, oh, this is the most magical place in the world and I'm going to get away from all of this stress, because you're not. It's there. It's there. If you're trying to get away from all the stresses that's going on right now, they're there.
So yeah, we've gone a little longer than we were expecting. We got kind of talking, but yeah, keep it in perspective. Disney's trying their very best. The cast members are doing a great job with what they have been given.
Yes.
And hopefully, if we all stick together and do the right thing, this won't be a permanent thing.
Yeah.
We can move on, and our Disney World will go back to the way it used to be.
So hopefully we gave you guys some tips. So if you're planning a trip, whether these were tips to help you, maybe you decided that you wanted to push it off, or maybe it gave you some tips for your trip.
And if this has made you more curious, we'll be having some vlogs starting shortly from our trip. That'll kind of give you a better visual of what we talked about.
Yeah.
So make sure you've hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're approaching a big milestone for the channel. So stay tuned.
Because we should have a giveaway hopefully coming soon. Coming soon.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, we have some great stuff coming up. Some new ideas we're about to try out that we're going to need your help with. So until then, until next time.
Bye.
Bye. Hit the end button. Bye.
Bye.